that love that you have for the job, the desire to go and help people, and the fulfillment that gives you, hold on to that for the rest of your career. No one can take that away from you. You can let people take it. You can let people have it. You can give it up, but they can't take it from you.
Me and my homies vibing, stacks off in my pocket, cause we on the corner grinding. I'm in the candy, trunk with heavy, think on swole.
Welcome back. This is episode 2 of the Firewire podcast. I'm Pete Arnold, your host, with my co-host Dixon Phillips. And today we're joined by Chief Martinez, Pasco County Fire Rescue, and Joey Davis, Treasurer of Professional Firefighters Local 2339, Tallahassee.
We're excited to have both of you in here today on the Firewire podcast. We're going to talk a lot today about occupational cancer and the effects that it has in the fire service. Talk about some statistics about cancer in the fire service. Talk about some of the things that Pasco County is doing to improve the quality of life and reduce those occupational risks that we have. And it's going to be very humbling to talk to our good friend Joey as he tells us his story and the challenges that he has faced so far in his career as we talk about this disease.
Make sure that after the interviews, you stick around. We're going to go into our segment about the Union Corner. So after the interview, stick around and we'll go into the Union Corner also. At any time you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can email us, firewirepodcast@gmail.com. It's the firewirepodcast@gmail.com.
All right. Chief Martinez, welcome. Good. How are you? So first time here, right? Would love to get an introduction about you and tell us about your career, the path that you took to get to the position that you are in today and why it matters to you.
Well, the path I took to get to this position, it's not really a path that you're taking. You get in this rhythm as a firefighter. All right, I got to be a firefighter. I'm going to move up to a driver, the captain, and so on. And this position kind of came open. I was the second vice president of this local. And it came time to that. I felt like the position was, there was a crossroads, whether the position was going to be here or not. Spoke to the chief at the time and just expressed my concerns. This local, the firefighters of Pasco County, most of this administration, a lot of the people fought for the health and safety of our firefighters, our men and women. And this position means a lot more than Decon, even though that's very important. I'm a big org chart guy. So it's a health, safety, and wellness. I'm like, man, it's a mouthful. Let's try and just do health and safety, and let's split it up. So we talk about health. We talk about pure fitness, pure support, occupational health, and infectious control. And then we talk about safety, decon, air truck, rehab, and then our safety committee and other safety aspects of it. And that's how I kind of look at it. If I can improve on the health side and the safety side and all those categories, the men and women in Pasco County are pretty safe. Pasco County firefighter, still call myself a firefighter. That's the way we should do it. 17 years, going on 18. Made it all the way to captain in this position. And I can tell you, I had a chance to leave at one time. I didn't do it. And I'm so glad I didn't. It was, where do I want my kid, my child to grow up? I want them to grow up with brothers and sisters that I know. Best friends work here. So it's kind of my path of how we got here and how I feel about it.
I love it, especially when we talk about the first episode, we talk about the way that our administration is set up here in Pasco County and how lucky we are to have people in our administration that didn't forget where they came from, that took these positions, that opened up the opportunities that were in front of them for the right reasons, right? Not for the self-serving ones, to be servant leaders. And, I see that in you. And we look at where the Decon program, the occupational health program was, when you took that role, it already started, but it was in the infancy stages, right? And now when we look at where we are today and where we're heading in the near future, it's inspiring, to see the work that you've put in, the collaboration from your side, to our side, and that we're all going towards the same goal. And that is to reduce occupational cancer here in Pasco County, to improve not only the mental health, but the physical health of our members, the physical agility exams, and also through this robust occupational health program that we're going to dive in later.
It's good. But I got two things to say about that. The person in the position is only good as people below them and above them. I watched your podcast last time, and I could tell you that my thought process with this position falls in line with our chief, with our county administrator, assistant county administrator. We're here to support. We're here to support our men and women. That's the way we should look at it. I'm not going to throw my weight around as a chief. I'm going to do what's best to help them succeed. But the only way I succeed is also the people below me. Our occupational health team, our mental officer position, our Decon team, our air truck team, they care about the men and women of Pasco County. These positions aren't somewhere they go to retire out on duty. When they come in and when they change gear out, when they change your bottle out, when someone comes in for vital signs or to look a person over, they're more concerned about what can I do for you? Customer service is something that Chief Gwen said. And I hold that strict guideline with my people. And they over exceed expectations. They're on scene. Hey, I got a bottle of water for you. Here's your gear. Here's a wipe. What else can I do for you? I mean, just the fact that we had Palm Beach County come up here and just look at our program. They're doing one of their own. And I said, the success is not with the chiefs. It's with the people underneath them, the men and women. I didn't think about putting wipes and packages in a chilled box. So people, when they get out of a fire, they put it on and they're wiping themselves off to get cool. That was the men and women on those trucks. So I keep talking about them, and I probably will throughout this whole podcast, but man,
I love it.
I think what also is nice is that I think you can count on one hand the departments that have adopted health and safety to the extent that we have, because I believe, less than 10 departments in the state of Florida have a health and safety chief that manages health and safety. It's usually like you talk about org charts, and on an org chart, it usually follows underneath an operations level. You'd have ops, and then they handle health and safety. But the fact that, this county has decided that firefighter health and safety is one of the most important things, along with everybody else, and to create that position, fund it, and give you the control that you're doing to manage it is astonishing.
I really think that it has to do with the men and women that came before us. I learned a lot from people ahead of me, the chiefs, senior firefighters, captains, senior drivers. They taught me these things. And I just want to build on what they build from. One thing I want to say about Joey Davis, who's on right now. I started in with the union around 2011. One of the guys I looked up to, kind of gravitated toward, was Joey. Anytime we went to a convention or something, I looked for where he was at, because like-minded individuals care about other people, and that's what he's all about. So that's what it takes. It's just a collaborative effort. Our department's doing very well. What we want to see is all the other.
Absolutely.
We're going to get into Joey in just a second. One of the biggest things I think the question our members have is, why do we have a Decon program? What is the Decon program, and why does it matter?
So for the members that have those questions, which there's not many, because we all know why we have it, right? Jason Tucker, who passed away about 2 years ago now, he was an alternate. He was an advocate. When someone of that stature passes away from occupational cancer, we respond. And that's what the men and women of Pasco County did. That's what our firefighters did. There's no question whether to decon anymore. It's a part of our life. It's a way of life as a Pasco firefighter. So, why to do it? Listen, I want you to retire and bleed the state dry. I do. I want you to retire and live a good life. I want you to see your grandkids. I want you to see your great grandkids, because we care about our people. You guys care about it. That's what it's all about.
I think Tucker made us feel, and I talked about this in the first podcast, was that the word okay. It's okay to change your gear. It's okay to shower within the hour. It's okay for mental health, CISM, OC health, all of it. Everything that we're covered under the safety umbrella, he made the word okay. Like there's no more like, oh, well, dirty helmets are the greatest thing. I'm not a fireman unless I have a dirty helmet. No, that myth's out the window with us. And like being a department of like almost 900 people, we're able to share that story and get it out there and tell everybody else, hey, they're a big department. They're doing things right. Maybe that, if we can get them to abide by the rule, okay, then we could pass it on.
Listen, we'll handle the field. We could do that. But what it takes, and I just spoke to another department about this, it starts at training. I told myself I wouldn't mention any names, but Brian Splinter is a big advocate. Everybody at that training center is a big advocate. But man, the way he yelled at people when they came out and told them, hey, it wasn't even a yell. It was a show of that he cared. You're going to change your hood out. You're going to use a wipe. And when we're done, you change that gear out. And you're going to do it when you leave here as well. Let's start at training. And then it's our job to start at the top and move our way down. But it's a culture shift.
Absolutely.
And it shifted in this department the way other departments can do it. It's not like, how long do you think it took to get this truck, to get this program? Forever. I always think of that famous Martin Luther King saying, if you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. You're moving forward. That's all that matters. And that's what people need to understand. Just move forward.
Yeah. And talking about Tucker, who's a legend here in Pasco County, right? For the way that he carried himself. One of the first members on our Truck One special operations team, and to see the fight that he went through, to be with him at training when he could no longer work in the field. The things that you learn from him, the life lessons that you learn from him, and the things that you'll never forget. And unfortunately, in the fire service, we hate change, right? And we love what we do. We have the best damn job in the world. Your helmet smoked out, burnt, right? That it used to be a symbol of pride, right? To show that you were a fireman, right? You had that salt. And there was a lot of people that were hesitant about this Decon program in the beginning, right? Because they didn't want to give their gear back to the Decon truck. They didn't know who was going to touch their gear. Always says that my bunker gear is like my skin, right? I don't want anyone else to touch it. This is mine. I'm in charge of it. I'm in control of it. This is my life safety, right? But he was a catalyst. When everyone saw what he was going through, and he was such an advocate for this program, it changed the future of this department. He's a legend here in Pasco County. And
But that's why he's a legend, because we
absolutely
from him every day.
Yeah. And
it takes one to start it. And you got to build a foundation, and you build it brick by brick. And we've laid the first brick was Tucker, and he laid the first brick, and now it lies on you and the others, and like you said, above and below you, to continue to place that brick to build what we're building.
And let me just talk about the people who has suffered through cancer that still work here. There are firefighters who have caught cancer early. There are firefighters who had to fight through it. So nothing against Tucker. He's amazing. But Tucker will even tell you there's other people.
Absolutely.
Because he is not about himself.
Right.
And I just want to thank the guys and girls who have fought that in the field, because they're also saying the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're right. We forget that we're catching it early because of our occupational health and the fact that we're getting it to where it doesn't get to that extent. So we're able to nip it sooner, treatment options, things of that nature, which is a huge asset. And what people don't understand is that it doesn't get to that. And that's another advantage of what being a Pasco Fire is that we have the ability to find these things sooner. OC health, PFAT, all this stuff that we're doing that makes you the reduction of cancer and getting hurt on the job and having all those issues, we're combating early.
Yeah. And speaking of people that are fighting that fight, you know, we're honored today to be here with our brother Joey Davis from Tallahassee. You know, he's going through a fight right now, and you know, Joey, we love you. We're so happy that you're here with us today.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here with you.
Yeah, I think everyone is excited and looking forward to hearing your story.
Well, you know, it's it's a long story, so I don't.
We have all
You know,
we got the time.
in the depth about any segment of it you like to. You know, there's plenty of jokes there to be had from Firefighter. I'm talking about colon cancer, and I'm not going into depth, but you know, it's a long story that really began standing in the courtyard at the Capitol getting signatures for a cancer bill. You know, it's funny. You know, Dixon, you know, you're starting out there as president, and you've already done such a great job. Y'all have made some huge changes over the last few years, and watching you and JJ and your predecessor lead there has been it's been very impressive for a lot of people around the state, including myself. And but sometimes the legacy you think you're going to leave ends up not necessarily being the legacy that you'll leave. And I'm not done, and I don't think the good Lord's done writing my legacy. But I think one of the things that I never thought that I would, you know, be pushing for in my own department is health and safety. There were so many other things that we had on our roadmap, labor wise, that I thought were going to be much larger issues, and we still have some large issues that we're fighting here, work week and whatnot. But cancer became one of those for me. You know, in 23, I was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer. I was having a great weekend with the family, and then next thing I know, I couldn't eat. I couldn't use the bathroom, and was having pain. I'm in the hospital, and you know, I have a doctor telling me that I'm going to have emergency surgery because I've got a blockage, and it's probably cancer. And you know, it's something that we as firefighters, we think we can, you know, we can take on anything and everything. But when you got somebody telling you that he doesn't know whether or not you're going to be able to go back on the job, if he's going to be able to put you back together without a bag, you know, it's it really brings you down to what's real, you know. And so, you know, fast forward through that, I went through several surgeries. Went through 6 months of chemo, more surgeries after that, checkups for a year and a half, and you know, sadly, you know, it came back. You know, I've got it now in my abdomen, and I've got 5 tumors on my liver. It's funny, you know, after treatment, when I got back out online, I was pushing really hard to get back out online. I think I drove my command staff nuts with that. But got back out online, immediately went back to working out hard. When it came back this time around, I think I was, uh, I'm 47 now, and I was in some of the best shape that I've ever been in, physically. And thankfully, that has me ready to fight it a little bit harder this time around. The emergency surgery that I went through last time was pretty tough, and it was about a month. I lost I think 30 pounds in 2 weeks. Yeah, so it was pretty tough on me this time around. I'm definitely in a little bit better shape going into the chemo. I'm 3 rounds in now. Um, Finally found a doctor that's willing to be aggressive and find some strategies to get me to where I need to be in order to possibly do some really aggressive surgery, to give me a good bit more time. And thankfully, there's been a lot of people in the fire service that have helped with that. Would get me in touch with a doctor down at Dr. Dosh. Um, I definitely have to mention my brother down in Hialeah, Eric Johnson, Slick. He's probably the toughest man I've ever been around in the fire service. The man's been through it all, not to mention cancer, and he's gone through exactly what I'm going through, and he's been a mentor for me going through this process. But it's been a wild ride, and when I got the stage 4 diagnosis, I had to sit down with my chiefs, and I had to tell them, listen, your department physician told me 2 years ago that I was in good shape, and I had stage 3 cancer. And fast forward now 2 years later, he's told me I'm in good shape again, and now I've got stage 4 cancer. So we're doing something wrong.
Right.
And I went through some of our SOPs. Our Decon SOP on fire scenes is exactly what the state recommends, by staging and zoning your scene from a hot, warm, and cold zone, and not taking anything into your rehab area and all that. It's written the right way, but we're not following it. And so we've got to find some ways to make that happen. And there are several other aspects that I kind of laid out to them. And the most damaging one to me, and I kind of shared this at the FBF convention a month ago, but the most damaging one to me was to look at our own contract. The first line in the contract under our health and safety article is that it's the right of the city to be able to know that the firefighter can do the job. That's basically the reasoning or rationale for having a doctor look us over, to make sure that we can do what they want us to do. And that's the wrong way to look at it. I think you guys are extremely blessed down there to have people like JJ and others in your command staff that understand that if they look out for their firefighters and the health and safety of their firefighters, and make sure that they're not taking stuff home, that they're lowering their risk of occupational cancer, and other issues, that those firefighters are then going to look out for the department and the people that they serve. That's just the way it works. If any employer is looking out for the well-being of their employees, those employees are going to give more. And sadly, in Tallahassee, we are behind the 8 ball as far as helping City Hall understand that aspect. That's something that we're working on with our fire chief, and I think that's something that around the state we just have to do a better job of.
100%. And I know that I've talked to you about the struggles that you had in your home department, and it kind of blows my mind, right, that you work for a department that is in the city that passed the cancer presumption bill in 2019, that passed the House bill this year from Governor DeSantis, that is a firefighter health and safety bill. I mean, you're right. Things need to change throughout the entire state. We need departments, counties, cities to invest in the well-being of their employees. And the one thing that we talk about here in Pasco County is that it's not just the employee, right? It's the whole firefighter. It's the family. They're all sons and daughters and husbands and wives and mothers and fathers, sisters, brothers. We want all of our firefighters here in Pasco County to go home, live long, happy, healthy lives, like Chief Martinez said earlier. And it's upsetting that you're going through the things that you're going through, working at your agency, when just 2 years ago you were dealing with this. And now here we are. And it doesn't sound like that much has changed, or that you're having such a struggle with getting things to change.
Yeah. I think there's some areas where, I think our command staff is grasping, the need. The question is how to lay out the plan and implement it. And thankfully, they've taken a huge leap in the past month or so to get funding for us to move to a more aggressive physical from a more aggressive physical provider.
Awesome.
That's going to help catch some of these cancers earlier. That's a good thing. They're working on some of those. I went over some of the needed changes in SOP. We're looking at some inventive ways to actually implement our own decon policy on fire scenes. We're not where Pasco is right now, where we can implement the program that you have there for your decon, and I think that's a model for the state. But I think they're starting to understand that that's where we need to get. And Dixon, and JJ, I know y'all are familiar with this statement. I don't remember who said it, but you tell me you love me all you want, but show me your budget. Right? And so, when we look through fire department budgets across the state, we there's a lot of them that don't have a problem spending a lot of money on IT, and they don't have problems spending money on communications outside the department or recruitment, which is great. But if you're not spending money on health and safety, you're missing something, because in the end, if you're not taking care of those employees know that. Beyond the simple standpoint of this just a wrong thing to do,
Right.
They know that, and it's going to change how they view the department.
I think we need to encourage not only prevention, early action, and support. I think those are the three things that we lack before we went to our decon program. And also what you see around the state is that we lack prevention, we lack early action, and we lack support for our brothers and sisters. And I think that's one area that all departments need to start looking is those are the three areas to start off with right away.
Right.
I got two things. The first one is when it comes to decon, the most important decon on the scene is gross. Get out of the fire. You get out, get your mask on, get your bottle on, and that's why when that bell rings, you get out. We're going to soap you up. We're going to hose you down. Those green buckets put out from the state.
All right.
Like, what do we need these for? 85% of those contaminants can get off your body. 85%. That's huge. That is huge. Here's the first step. I mean, just move forward.
Right.
Like I said, keep going. And to change the topic a little bit, not change it, but just talk about Joey a little bit. Joey, I remember that day. And when people hear Joey talk, it's not a complaining about himself. It's about the people. That's who he is. That day he was sick. He was on his way to the
At LegCon.
the talk. He was coming up to talk to them.
Yep.
Joey, if you can you talk a little bit about the fight for that cancer bill and what it took?
Well, I missed that. If you're going to repeat that, sorry.
That's all right. Just Think about what it took to get that cancer bill. I remember walking down. We have a softball game for Republicans versus Democrats that happens at the state cap.
King of the Hill.
Yep. Yeah. And we laid gear represent every firefighter that lost their life for cancer. Joey, can you just talk about you did to fight for that bill?
Yeah. So going into that particular session that year, we had the change at the top of the FPF, and a change in approach from Jim Tolley, who was a great president, to Bernie. Bernie and some of the others felt like it was time for a fight. We've got to fight for this, and they felt that the timing was right. Sadly, in the lead up to that session, another local in the state had some political back and forth with someone, and ended up damaging a relationship with the speaker. And so when we had everything laid out, we were getting a lot of co-signers on the bill, and the speaker was not wanting to allow it to move forward. In the end, I think we ended up having every House rep co-sign on that bill except the Speaker of the House. And the only person that can stop legislation all on his own from getting to the House floor is the Speaker of the House. And so, we ended up, our local and probably, I think there were probably 10, 15 other locals that ended up sending people up there throughout the session, would get out there in the courtyard, and we'd have staffers all through the day coming out there, and we'd have them signing petitions. And it's funny, I was out there one day, and it was hot, and we're out there in our gear getting people to sign these petitions, and I turn around and I see a fellow walk up, and I just instinctively turn around. I didn't even pay attention to his face. I just instinctively stick out my clipboard and say, "Hey, we would love to have your signature on our petition." And he said, "I'm not going to sign it at the moment, but you got my support." And I didn't realize until just after that it was the Senate President, Jim Galvano. So we knew we were getting a lot of support. We just had to get it on the floor. And a little inside baseball, at some point, I think we're maybe week 6 or 7, so we're coming down towards the end of session. We had just gone through the King of the Hill. Miami-Dade sent up all their uniforms of brothers that had died from occupational cancer. And it was a very surreal event, walking through all of those, and all the legislators having to walk through all those to get to the King of the Hill softball tournament. And the next week, one of my guys, who's now my vice president here with our local, and a few others around the state, ended up getting the personal cell phone number of the Speaker of the House of the state of Florida, and they began texting him, asking why our bill hasn't been heard, and what's the issue here. And they were pretty cordial with him, and to his credit, he texted them back and asked a couple of questions, and at the end of it he said, "Just have patience, it's going to be heard." And thankfully it came in for a landing, and it was signed by the governor. It was a huge change for me. When we got to my diagnosis, the city went ahead with paying the initial $25,000 and saying that they would cover the out-of-pocket expenses, and then they said they wouldn't cover my time. And we had a bit of a fight there. It went to the day of mediation, and the city finally changed their opinion on it, as the state was signing a restatement of or clarification of the language to help them understand it. Sometimes you got to go through that with cities, and it's difficult. but we're on the other side of that now. Hopefully, we never have to deal with something like that again. But it was a wild session, and to go through all that, and to be honest with you, JJ, it's crazy to think about all the sessions before that where we got so close so many times, and so many people worked so hard on it. We were thankfully able to stand on their shoulders that particular year and get it across the goal line.
You've done so much for so many people, and it's hard to believe when we were out there fighting for this bill that one day one of us would need it, Brett. Sorry, Joey. What I was saying is it's hard to believe that we fought so hard for this bill and one day we would need it just for yourself, right?
Yeah, it's definitely not something I ever thought, for myself. That's something that's definitely a lesson for every firefighter out there. We think about our brothers and our sisters. We think about the people within our own departments and around the state that we've given money to or raised money for because they've gone through something, or we fought for legislation. And we never think, that's something that I'm going to have to deal with, and a conversation I'm going to have with my wife and my kids. It's never really that real to us until it is. And, one of the things I said at FPF is, we need to each one of us needs to take this seriously. Our own health and safety, on calls, off of calls, mental wellness, physical wellness, because we deserve that. And not only do we deserve it, but our families deserve that. They deserve to know that I'm doing my best to be around for them as long as I can be. And, when you put it that way, it's, if you think of it in very real terms, it's easier to, not get aggravated of having to decon a little bit extra on a scene or take more gear out or whatever. It becomes, a lesser issue. For me, I never thought, I always thought that I'd be the person fighting for other people. I never thought that I'd have to have people fighting for me.
Right.
And, anybody who watches me at FPF, people talk about me or something, it's not comfortable for me. It's more comfortable for me to be talking about other people and pointing and saying, this is where we need to go for our brothers, for our sisters. It's not comfortable being the one that people talk about, but I will tell you, it's this is the work week change, the health and safety push. That is what we have to focus on. And we focus, and we will deal with pay every single time we come to the table. We'll deal with a lot of other issues, but the ability to make sure that our people are able to spend long lives with their families and be there for their families, that's what will end up making the most impact for our brothers and sisters.
Absolutely. And there's so many pieces to this puzzle, right? Like you referenced the shift change. We've talked about the Decon. We've talked about the OC Health program. That they all go together. We spoke about it in episode 1 as we're looking at IR crews, actively looking at the link between sleep deprivation and cancer. There are so many studies out there that show that there is something there. And then we talk about the occupational health program. We didn't have physicals for a long time other than a pre-employment physical, and now you look at where we're at here in Pasco County, where it's mandatory every year for a firefighter over the age of 35 and every other year for a firefighter under the age of 35. And what that does is early on, it shows you your baseline, right? And we're getting blood work, we're getting ultrasounds on the neck down, MRIs of the brain, CTs of the chest, calcium scores. We're being preventative, not only in that OC Health side, right? Making sure our labs are good, our scans are good, but also preventative in what we're doing with our gear program. And, we're very blessed where we are with the commitment that we have from our Board of County Commissioners, from our county administration, and from our fire administration, where our Decon program, we have one truck for each side of the county that is it's like a rolling gear room. right? It just has tons of gear in the back of all sizes so we can fit everyone out and swap them out on every structure fire. But it can start at every agency in the state. We referenced the green buckets earlier. I mean, we all know that a structure fire is a hazmat scene, right? We never treat it that way, but it's 100% a hazmat scene.
Absolutely.
So we can start with a green line and a bottle of soap and a brush. That's it. We're talking about a couple dollars, and you make it. It's a culture change. You have to have the buy-in from the membership and your employees in the field, right? The firefighters in the field. But you also need that buy-in from administration. I think that too often we hear I didn't have that, instead of leaving that legacy behind, right? And I think that's the biggest thing is Pasco County, we want to be a blueprint. We want to be the ones that people steal from. I mean, we will give you the information. Like, we need to change this whole thing is when we look at the fire service, and 66% of the line of duty deaths since 2002 have been because of occupational cancer. Like, we have a problem and we have to work to fix it. And like you said, you don't have to fly. You can crawl. A green bucket, a green line, soap, and a brush.
I can tell you where. Yeah, we're better off than others, but we constantly want to get this program better.
Yep.
And there are other departments.
Right.
We're going to find them.
I love it.
Cancer isn't just a risk. It's a reality for too many firefighters nowadays. And that's one of the things that needs to be the focus of not just us, but everybody.
Right.
We talk about, like you just brought up, well, I didn't have that. Well, fires burned a lot differently when you were fighting fire.
That's also true.
That were used, the chemicals that are in our gear, the chemicals that are being used in furniture and coverings within houses are burning differently than just a regular pine house in 1940s compared to these new construction homes,
Right.
where you go and it's the blackest smoke you've ever seen in your life. And we're going into the heart of it. So I think that's one of the things is that it's not just a risk anymore. It is now part of our job.
Yep.
And it's affecting too many firefighters, and we need to find ways to adjust and adapt to it. That's what we do. We adjust and adapt. And one of the things it's going to cost is, if it's money, we'll start off, again, crawl.
Right.
Crawl, walk, steps. Something needs to be done.
Run and fly, baby.
I'll tell you what, we talk about occupational health, and I'm just going to talk. Yes. Phenomenal team. The CBA contract with Pasco spells out what we're supposed to do.
Uh-huh.
We took that a step further. If you're under the age of 35 and you want to get it done, we'll get it done. But the MRIs of the brain, the CTs of the chest, the calcium scores, I didn't get into this position and all of a sudden be like, man, we should do this. I've got a team in occupation that is like, we want this. My job is support. And that's what I'm there for. And to have people in those positions, I think that's what other departments need to realize. Find the people who care.
Yep.
And feed them. Help them. Support them. They're going to make this department look so good. They're going to protect the men and women. And that's what we need to do. And that's what I think has changed in our administration over the past years. Nothing to dig back. We're just building upon what other administrations have done. And our focus, I've seen, is how can we support you to make your life better?
I think another group of people that I like to touch on too right now is, we talked about under the age of 35, that if you want to come take it every year, absolutely, right? No questions asked. What about our retirees? They're often that forgotten group, right? The moment that they leave, guess what? Job opening comes out, right? We're filling that seat. They're so often forgotten, not only in the occupational health and the cancer conversation, but also that mental health conversation. So what are we doing here in Pasco County for our retirees, or what are we planning on doing for the retirees?
I'm so glad you talked about that, because I just dealt with an issue today. Actually, I didn't. I have James Edwards filling in for my mental health officer position. And he's working with Amy Gervaisi, who is in our occupational health. And they're concerned. They've met with the retirees at all their functions they do. We had an issue with one recently, and they took it and ran with it. to help that person. We're looking toward the future. What else could we do? Tan-based psychology associates, they're going to put together something for our retirees so they can come in and do an education session. So they know what the signs and symptoms to look out for. Because when you leave, part of you is gone. Anybody who's been off the job a little bit for a medical reason, I'm sure Joey can talk about it too, but the thing is, you miss it when you leave. Imagine leaving and you never come back. You're done. Yeah, you're retired and it's a great feeling. But there's a sense of, you miss the talks around the table. You miss having coffee at 11 o'clock at night when you really wouldn't, just sitting and talking to your boys and girls and talking about life. That is therapy.
Right.
And when that's gone,
Yeah, I mean,
next.
it's like losing your family, right?
Yeah. So we want to fill that gap. We do. And we want to treat these people right because I'm going to be there. You're going to be there. He's going to be there. And we care about the people that came before us.
Right.
They taught us. We're building on top of building. And I keep saying that, but that's what we have to continue to do. Who's the next person behind you?
Yeah.
Get them ready because they're going to be better than you and you better hope they are.
Yeah.
I think that it's twofold. One, we're blessed that we have retiree health insurance. So if you do your time, you get health insurance until you're Medicare eligible. But also, we have health insurance. Well, other departments like Joey, can the guys, they're listening to this and they work in these departments, like in Tallahassee. Can you guys go to your own primary care doctor and say, "Hey, I want these battery of tests"?
Some, I mean, so when you're going to your primary, they have to be able to justify the level of testing that they're going to do to the insurer, right? So you got some testing like a PSA that's a fairly easy ask of a primary to go ahead and get pulled. You got other things like, a cancer marker for colon cancer is a CEA test. I don't know what the cost is on that, but the justification has to be there from the primary. That's really the difference. Now, when you go beyond where you're looking at wanting to do more advanced scanning like an MRI, CT, or even ultrasound, you've got to have that rationale there and have a primary that buys into or understands the risk that we face. And sadly, in most cases, primaries just don't.
I think that's the reason why I asked that question. And I know where you're probably going with this too. Is one of the things that got us to where we are today is that we started this, and then what they did is they called in the primary care doctors, our local primary care, and said, "Hey, let us pitch you this idea. If they're not going to do it, will you guys do it?"
Yep.
And that's where it started. And then we had enough of them that were doing it that the county said, well, screw it. We're going to start doing it because you guys are already getting it done by your primaries, because it was a ground-led effort to say, okay, the county won't do it, but you have health insurance. Here's a group of primaries that you can go see that will do exactly what we're doing, because around us, we had life scan. Everybody was getting life scan. We were the only ones that weren't doing it. And so we're like, how do we get there? And so what we did is we pushed, and we had primary care doctors that came in, met with a doctor. They went through and said, it's easy. It's ordering this test, this test, this test, and this test. And you'll just be the advocate and the facilitator for it. And then it started. And then the county said, well, you guys got us behind the door. We're just going to go ahead and pay for the program.
Yeah. Chief, you want to talk about that? And I know we had a luncheon where we actually invited quite a few primary healthcare physicians in our area.
Yeah. And it has to do with education. So it's not only educating our members, but educating their physicians.
Mm-hmm.
We brought them in. We actually put a survey out. Tell us your physician.
Yep.
Tell us their name. Give us their number. We'll show up. The chief before me, he started that up, and then I was on the union side. I helped head it, and the occupational team is there to help educate. But bring them in, offer them a golf session, and then tell them why firefighters are at risk more. Because what we're doing is, I could tell you all day that you might have a nodule somewhere. You got to go to your physician. And your physicians go, you're young. You don't know about it. No, we need to educate that physician on why firefighting is different than any other occupation.
Right.
And then they're going to go, okay, let's get more tests done. I mean, those are the things that are needed. We started vetting physicians. So it started off with vetting counselors, therapists. Why aren't we vetting our physicians? If you're a firefighter out there and you're listening to this podcast, I'm going to detonate this. Was right in the fourth wall, but talk to your physician. Tell them you're a firefighter. Tell them what you do and tell them that you think you need these tests. If they say no, find another one. Because this is your life. This is family. Do it. Owe it to yourself. You're your own advocate. You think everybody else knows better than you do about yourself? No. Self-awareness. So I truly believe that we need to be our own self-advocates. We need to be self-aware about our mental health and physical health. And it's up to us. We're going to support, but it's up to you. You got to take those steps.
Yeah. It's buy-in on both sides, right? I was just going to say, where do you see us going in the future? You know, you talk about some things that you're looking at in the OC Health program. What about the Decon program, rehab program, anything that kind of falls in your wheelhouse of health and safety? Where do you see us going in the next 1, 3, 5 years?
You know, a lot of the places I see us going are because of what other people are doing. I look at Captain Cramo, what he's doing with physical health, pure fitness. We need to be more in tune with that. I think our administration knows that, and they're very supportive of it. I mean, our fire sled program was on the news. How do we help the people that didn't ask?
Right.
We have, I believe, 25 to 27 pure fitness instructors. Let's go. Let's get out there.
Right.
We all know it takes time, and we're crawling. But we're going to be there.
Yep.
Rehab. I have so much I want to do at rehab. We have a rehab truck that's just way too big. Where does rehab start? Right next to that fire.
Right.
That first dude. What did we used to do? We get in the back of an ambulance. Soak up the AC. You know? That's what we need to be doing. Get in, get their vitals, put them on a 4-lead. Find out what kind of hydration. I mean, I even look as far as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just south of us. Those guys go into halftime. They're getting IVs, they're getting O2, and they're going back out there and playing the second half just like they did the first. We need to be doing. We need to get out. We need to rehab appropriately and get back in. I've talked to Greg Pollock a lot about that. He's our EMS chief. Like I said, it's just, and there's so many places we can go with what we got. And having an administration, having county administrators, county commissioners that all are on board with the health and safety of a firefighter, sky's the limit. And it's not only for the men and women of Pasco County. We do it for everybody. All the firefighters in Florida and the state in the United States, the international. Because if we can clear a path, they're going to come and right behind us and follow us.
Right.
And then there are people ahead of us doing the same thing. We have to learn from each other.
The other aspect of that, and that we don't touch on enough, is that our citizens are a number one supporter of us.
Absolutely.
That is one of the things that with us is that we brought in our community from the get-go, and our social media, they've come to seminars that we've hosted. They come to these things and they talk. And when you go to that commission meeting, you have not just us talking, but you have the citizens supporting you that are telling them, hey, I don't have any skin in this game other than the fact that I'm a taxpaying citizen and this is where I want my tax dollars to go. I think that's one of the areas we lack throughout the state is that we don't involve the community. Yes, it's our fight, but our fight is the department and the citizens we protect.
Well, think about it, Pete. If you have a healthy firefighter who's at work in the right set of mind, when you're at your worst day as somebody in the community, who do you want?
Yeah.
You want a clear-minded individual ready to give you help. You want someone who's healthy. If you're stuck somewhere, if you're stuck in a fire, they're going to get you out. If you got a medical emergency, they're going to give you the utmost care. If we take care of our firefighters, they're going to take care of the community. That's what's real important.
You talk about taking care of our firefighters. Joey, how can we or our peers or anybody, how can we help you?
You know, a lot of y'all around the state have been very huge already and helping with funds that are going to take care of all my costs to travel down to Miami and whatnot. So a lot of that stuff is taken care of. But and as things arise, I'll definitely let brothers and sisters around the state know where there's needs. But number one, don't let up on this issue. If there's something that's going to make a change for me and others, it's this issue. And number two, I'll give it a shameless plug. I just started a little bit of new social media called The Final Size Up. And if I can impress on any of your members and my members and other brothers and sisters around the state, is to start looking at your career and your life from the vantage point of what you want it to look like when you're done. All the way down to how you get along with your brothers and sisters in the fire station. There's so many times that we take certain things for granted that we don't need to. And, if you start doing that, the discussion about health and safety, the discussion about work week means a lot more. Because that's when you really truly understand the impact that it'll have on you and your family, well into your retirement. So,
Joey, if you were talking to a brand new firefighter day one, what's your message?
Yeah. So I still go out to our orientees one of the weeks of their orientation, and when we give them our union spiel, I give my spiel to them. And one of the things I always tell them is that first day that you get on the job and you get in that fire truck, and the pride that you have, that love that you have for the job, the desire to go and help people, and the fulfillment that gives you, hold on to that for the rest of your career. No one can take that away from you. You can let people take it. You can let people have it. You can give it up, but they can't take it from you. And you have to do certain things to keep that. You have to take care of yourself physically. You have to take care of yourself mentally. But hold on to that. And, the job, one of the things I tell people, the job doesn't owe you anything. And you don't owe the job anything, technically. But if you give to the job will give back to you. If you give to your brothers and sisters will give back to you. And almost every single time they'll give back way more than you ever gave them. And in the end, the time that you spend with your family, you can never replace. So while you need to love every moment that you get with your brothers and sisters at the firehouse, love every call, love, take something from every call, you have to be very intentional about spending that time with family and letting them know how you feel about them, because that's something you can't get that time back. You can try to fix it as you go along, but you can't get time back. So, start out with a love for the job, keep that love for the job. And, one thing that I definitely wish that I had done whenever I started was keeping a journal, of my big calls. Being young and being able to remember, I still can remember a lot of specifics, but now that I'm getting older, it's people talk about calls that I was on with them, and it's like, no, really, I did that. Really, I did that. Cool, sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So I wish I had kept the journal. That's definitely something I would tell a young me to do. But the love for the job and love for your family. that's what you got at the end of the day. That's what you're left with.
Well, I want to thank you for joining us today. I want to thank you for the sacrifice that you've made to every firefighter in the state of Florida. And what I mean by that is talking about what you just said. Enjoy every moment that you have with your family. You know just as much as everyone in this room that when you sign up to be a union officer, that time goes away, right? We're on the road. We're in meetings. We miss a lot with no monetary gain. It is truly because of the love that we have for the profession and for the men and women that we serve. And like I said earlier, it's an honor to have you on this podcast. And I just want to thank you for everything that you've done. The biggest fight in the state of Florida history in that 2019, getting that cancer presumption bill, was a monumental win. And you're a legend. You're a legend in the Florida Fire Service, without a doubt.
No.
Without a doubt.
It's been an honor being on with you guys. I think a lot of each of you, and the leaders that y'all have had in your organization in the past, and that you'll have in the future. And it's definitely been an honor. I appreciate the opportunity.
Joe, if we could ever help, or if our members could ever help, just let us know.
Absolutely, bro.
Yeah, we're always here.
Love you, brother.
Love you.
Chief Martinez, thank you for taking the time out of your day to come here and speak with us, talk to our membership, to talk to every other firefighter or family of a firefighter that is watching this podcast. Thank you for your commitment to not only the people that you serve, the community that we serve, but also to this organization. As a vice president of this local, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into where we are today, right? The fights that we've had in Tallahassee, the progress that we've made here in Pasco County, your fingerprints are all over it. So I just wanted to thank you. You know, I said it on episode 1 that I'm lucky as the president of this organization to stand on the shoulders of giants. And I know that you're 6'5", but in Pasco County, you're bigger than that. So thank you.
Truly appreciate it. And I just want to say, the things you guys are doing, we only dreamed about. And to see the hands that it went to, man, I love watching you guys. I do. You're flying. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joey. Thank you, Chief. Love you both.
Thank you, guys.
Yep. Love you guys. Stay tuned. Union Corner's coming next.
All right, now it's time for the Union Corner. Let's talk about what's going on in the last month, kind of give an educated philosophy of what we anticipate to happen in the next month and a half, and get some education out to our members.
Yeah, so, like we talked about in the first episode, we had our FPF convention earlier this month. It was a very successful week, filled with great classes. We brought 19 members down to the FPF. Valuable education and information was received in that week. We didn't really talk about it in the last episode, but one of the biggest things leading up to that convention was the FPF was looking at creating a new district, right? As we look at the state organization and the growth that we have in the state of Florida, the FPF's membership, no new district in over 20 years. It was time, right? It was time to add more representation. So at the FPF convention, there was a resolution on the floor that created a District 13 and a District 14. So what that means for us, District 13 now includes ourselves, Pasco County, Hernando, Citrus, Lake, and Sumter County. We have a meeting tomorrow morning up in Ocala with the principal officers of the Florida Professional Firefighters, as well as representatives from District 1, District 10, District 12, and the new 13th and 14th District. So we'll see how that goes. We have to wait for the International Association to approve the bylaws, and once that happens, then we will go ahead and we will nominate and vote for our district vice presidents. another incredible thing that happened at the FPF convention was Governor DeSantis actually showed up with Representatives Danny Alvarez and Representative Erica Booth to sign into law House Bill 929, which it had a lot of that in there, right? It had a lot of things in there. It's a firefighter health and safety bill. It talked about a reduced amount of PFAS in our bunker gear throughout the state. Recommends a 42-hour work week, which obviously we're transitioning to in January 25th as we move to that D shift. Just a big piece of legislation for firefighters in the state of Florida. And it was an honor for us to sit in the room and watch the governor sign that bill into law.
And legislation that a lot of it we're already doing.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
we had that conversation, and I don't know if it got caught on camera, but we were talking to Chief Martinez. Our bunker gear the new bunker gear that we're using is already the lowest. It's not PFAS free, but already has the lowest amount of PFAS in it, which we're already ahead of the game.
Right.
Obviously, we're already ahead of the game on the fit going to a 42-hour work week with the D shift.
Right.
So a lot of this we're already doing.
Right. And I think a lot of it, speaking specifically about the 42-hour work week, there's a lot of, people that believe that number actually means going to a D shift. It doesn't, right? We look at
3-week Kelly days.
Right. It's the super Kelly, right? It could be as simple as a 5th floating Kelly day shift for other agencies that don't have the ability to
hire.
Right. To hire. They don't have the budget to create that 4th shift. It gives them another avenue to create that 42-hour work week and to bring the entire fire service back to what a normal work week in this country is. So that was huge. The next step or the next event that we were going to is the partnership education program that's being put on by the International Association of Firefighters. That's going to be in Charleston, and that is July 14th to the 17th. So we are going up there. We have 8 members that are going to be going, and all that is it's just classes, right? It's going to be an intense week with classes 8 to 5 every
2.5 days full of classes.
And the classes put on by the FBF are phenomenal, right? The classes that are put on from the international, it's
the who's who.
Yeah, I mean, but they're awesome too because they're speaking not only to Florida firefighters, right? So we get to sit in the room with Georgia, who just recently had collective bargaining rights in their state, and we get to sit in a room with all these other people from all these other states that might not have collective bargaining, and kind of have the conversation with them and talk about the trials that they go through to get the things that they want, that they need. And the teachers that teach those classes, we have attorneys, labor leaders, presidents from locals all around the country that have been around and established for some of them decades, right?
I think one of the you talk about classes, it's also a track.
Right.
So your classes, you pick a track, if it's union administration, negotiations, whatever, you go down this track. So all day long, you're learning about that specific piece of the puzzle that you get extensive. So a lot of our guys are going to do some of them are doing negotiations, some of them are doing a union administration, some of them are doing bargaining,
right,
which is a huge thing to learn how to properly bargain,
right.
And like you said, there'll be exclusively attorneys and people that are trained by the F, just in that, but also Frank Lima,
right,
the union president Ed Kelly,
right.
Obviously, our 12th District DVP, Walt Dix, will be there. So it's a good FaceTime also to show, hey, Pasco's in the mix. And every time I know that we've been to these incidents, they've come up to us.
Right.
Which is amazing.
I mean, it's exciting. I know the last one that we went to, the last PEP conference that we went to was actually in Savannah, Georgia. And I can tell you it was probably one of the best weeks that I've had education-wise, as a part of this organization. It's important for us to be a part of these things. And especially when you look at the people that are going, we have 3 young members who are brand new stewards. All 3 of them are engaged and committed, and kind of going back to what we talked about, in the union quarter on episode 1, right? Is that it doesn't matter if you're a day one, union member, right? If you show commitment and you're willing to put the time and energy into what we do, then we are going to give you the tools necessary to build on, right? And when we look at those 3 members that are going to be going up here, those 3 are our future, right? So to get that education, to make sure that 10 years down the road that our organization is in good hands, it's important to start that. So I'm really excited. Not excited about the drive, but I'm excited for that week.
But it's important that we stay engaged.
Right.
That's the most important thing. We have to be engaged not only locally,
right,
but we need to be engaged with the state
Yep.
and with the district.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of like what got us where we're at, because we engage not just locally within Pasco County, we engage heavily with the state, which we saw at LedsCon where we were up there walking the halls. They know who we are.
Right.
National now, you're going to Washington, D.C.,
Right.
you and Walter. And then also an IFS perspective, like we're known now.
Right.
And that helps with recruiting. That helps with getting people to come work here. That helps with pushing our message of like, hey, Pasco County is doing Decon. They're doing health and safety. They're doing retiree health benefits. They're doing all this. They can start picking away.
Right. And I think the other side of it too is, we're a young organization, right? We've been around. This is our 20th year that Local 4420 has been established. And so when we go to these events, it's not only getting knowledge and information from the IFF itself in the form of classes, right? But it's the knowledge and information that we get from the other locals that are truly the tip of the spear, and maybe not, I'm not talking about benefits and paying all that, right? I'm talking about the way that they run and operate their organization and kind of being a pirate and stealing some of those ideas from them, that made them so successful on the labor side of things. And, it's the value that is in those weeks and these conferences, like it can't be overstated. It's extremely valuable, and it's extremely important that we continue to be a part of these conferences as we move forward into our future. Locally, we won't get into too much detail, on this platform, but for our members in our home local, everyone knows that we are in a year 3 wage opener for the support pay plan. So on Monday, we did TA an agreement. So be on the lookout for notices coming out for informational meetings as well as voting. I think it was a very successful negotiation, and that's just going to build on when we go next year to open up our 3-year contract. Really, it's the summer. So, people are out of town on vacation, spending time with their families as their kids are out of school for the summer. So usually in the month of July, we kind of slow down, right? We have 4th of July, Independence Day next week. And a lot of people take that time in July. So, while a lot of our board will be enjoying that vacation, we do have that week of the 14th and 17th where 8 of us are going to be up there taking classes. The one event that we do have coming up that is set in stone is the 9/11 Memorial Golf Tournament. It will be taking place on September 11th, as it always does. And, got to give it up to Steven Stanford, our communications director. He has taken that and ran with it, right? Between him, Lisa Brecky, our charities director, Robert First, our vice president of external, and Walter Price, our PAC chair, the things that they're able to do, engage with the community and get the sponsorships. I'm very happy to say that we just opened up, maybe 2 weeks ago for sponsorships, and all of our sponsorships are gone except for 10 whole sponsors. So if you want to sponsor a 9/11 golf tournament, now is the time. You can reach out to info@iff4420.org. If you're looking for that information, you can also follow our Facebook page, Pasco Professional Firefighters, Local 4420. And you can see the flyers that we've put out. And, it's a great event. We have a lot of our local politicians that are there, obviously our administration, county administration that participate in the event. It's just an awesome day of fellowship, brotherhood. Obviously we have, a moment of silence before the tournament starts to honor the 343 and also the everyone else that lost their lives on that day.
August 11th is when we're going to have individual groups sign up. So your team sign up will be August 11th. August 11th will be team sign up. So you can get prepared. It'll go quick. It'll probably open around 9:00 in the morning. There'll be some kind of email or Facebook or wherever you get your social media. They'll be out there. You can get it on hopefully by then we'll have our new webpage.
Yep.
Which is in the process. Had a great meeting about that yesterday.
Yep.
They're going through doing some final tweaks, getting some information transferred over from the old site to the new site. And obviously we'll get everything out when that site comes out. So we'll know. And I think the members are going to like it because there's going to be a one-stop shop. You're going to be able to go there for merchandise. You're going to be able to go there to download your podcast. You're going to be able to go there to get info. There's going to be a lot of surprises that I think the members are going to be happy with.
Yep.
So that should be happening soon. One thing, the promotions opened up, and tomorrow's the deadline for captains. For captains and EMS supervisors. Tomorrow's the deadline to turn your paperwork in.
Yep.
So make sure you get that done.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think coming up in July, like I said, it's slow, but when we look towards that future and that second half of the year, we're going to have some things coming up. I know we're actively working on a Movember for our charity event. We're working on securing a location right now and seeing what that's going to look like. So I'm excited to bring that event back. I think it was a huge success, especially in the past when we did it. Unfortunately, the past 2 years we haven't been able to put it on. So just really looking forward to getting back into that. That's just a great night of fellowship and raising money for our charity organization that is so important in our community.
So now it's time for them to start growing their mustaches.
Yeah, absolutely. But remember, obviously, you got to follow the policies.
I think there's a lot going on. It never stops.
It doesn't.
We've done a great job with the Union Hall. A lot of stuff's getting done here. We've gotten the flagpoles in. We've got waiting on electrical inspection to flip the switch so it has lights so we can fly the flag. We got the cameras, security cameras up. The floor is done. We're working on getting the bathrooms and the kitchens remodeled so we could start using it. We've already had some people interested in using the facility to do some training, and probably September. So we're working to meet that goal. The storm damage and trees that were down and the old pine tree in the corner of the property has been taken care of. So it's all cleaned up. So things are starting to come together.
Yeah.
Starting to come together.
Yeah, it's exciting, to kind of see where this started, several years ago and where we are today. It's exciting. I mean, just look at the studio that we're in right now, right? Like this is our memberships hall. And, I'm excited we talked about a lot of things we want to do to this building and this property in the future. And I'm excited to bring that to our membership. Other than that, I really think that's all that I have for this episode. We're actively working on our next few guests. We have a lot of interest from a lot of different people from different walks of life that want to get on this platform. And honestly, it's exciting to see. The first episode was definitely a success. We've heard from a lot of people, a lot of locals all over the country that have been tuning in, and we're excited to bring this not only to our membership but to that public and to all those other firefighters. And like we talked about today, right? We want to bring these things so that other locals and other departments in the state of Florida and throughout the country, they can see the blueprint of what we're doing here and what makes us successful, right? In our collaborative efforts and the benefits that we have for our membership and for their families at home. So
I think, what we need you guys out there to email us, thefirewirepodcast@gmail.com. thefirewirepodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you want us to talk about. Let us know what's new. We kind of try to get things that are relevant to what's going on, but if there's something that you're interested in, email us. Let us know what you think. Shoot us a link. Make sure that you subscribe, rate, and follow all of our social media platforms.
Yep.
We're all over Apple, YouTube, Facebook. I don't know enough about all the different social media because I don't have it. But I think the only place we're not on is Truth Social. But we might have to fix that. But they subscribe, like, and watch.
Yeah. I do want to give a shout out to our brother Joey Davis, who we just heard from. And he did talk about a new social media page that he has. It's called The Final Size Up. And that's by Joey Davis. And that's going to talk about his journey through his fight and what he has going on in his life that we just heard from. So I want to thank him for coming, taking time out of his schedule, which, as you heard, it's pretty damn busy.
Very remarkable.
So I want to thank him for coming on our podcast and sharing his story. I also want to thank Chief JJ Martinez for coming on this podcast and really just showing us who he is and why he cares and what's important to him and kind of see, where this program came from and also the vision of what he has for the future. So I want to thank him for taking his time out of the day.
I just want to say it again. Cancer isn't just a risk. It's a reality for too many firefighters nowadays.
Yes, it is.
And we need to get that message home. You need to use that to take care of yourself, to use that for bargaining within your members, for your members. We need to, that needs to be the next fight. We've got the cancer bill to back you up at the state. The state's helping you, but your locals need to work with you And we need to continue in our local to make sure that we get these health and safety initiatives pushed forward.
Absolutely. I mean, it is, when you look in the past, right, there was the biggest killer in the fire service was cardiac events, right? Cardiovascular emergencies. And, now this is the biggest fight that we are going to have, and really going into the future as you look at, like you spoke about in this episode, the materials that are now burning in these homes and the things that we're coming into. And when you look at, the EV fires with the cobalt and all these other hazards that are coming our way that we don't even know about, that is coming in the future, right? This is such an important topic. We have to mitigate that risk, right? And like Chief Martinez says, like, the goal as a state of Florida firefighters, when you retire, to take every single penny out of that pension that you can, right? You worked 30 to 35 years to earn that retirement. Set yourself up to live the best and healthy life that you can.
Not just the state retirement, any retirement.
And yes, city
a lot of
retirement,
people that listen
honestly.
to this might be in
Yeah.
a private pension,
Yeah.
the city pension. You want to get back at them? Bleed that retirement.
100%.
That's how we get back at them.
100%.
We live healthy lives and we bleed to retirement.
Yep, 100%. I think that's all I got. I want to thank everyone for tuning in on episode 1, tuning in for episode 2, and I'm really looking forward to what we have in episode 3 and beyond.
Again, subscribe, rate, follow on social media. If you'd like to be a sponsor of the program, you can either go to info@iff4420.org or the Firewire Podcast at gmail.com. Again, the Firewire Podcast at gmail.com. We're looking for people to sponsor us. We'd love to have you. Hope all of you be safe, enjoy yourselves, and stay union strong.
Absolutely. And like Pete said in episode 1, these walls are bare. We want to put something on them here soon.
Yeah.
So
Appreciate
thank you
you
all
all
for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Have a good summer.